What's going on, folks, and welcome into this week's edition of Third and Long here on Sports Tree. As always, I'm your host Connor Roundtree, and on this episode, we're gonna break down Thursday Night Football. It's the Bears, it's the Commanders. Why is this a primetime game? NFL, please don't do this to me. I don't want the rest of the world to notice what a poverty franchise my Chicago Bears are. And then after that, we'll run through every single game on Sunday, give you some betting nuggets to look out for each one of those contests, and then we'll wrap everything up with a trivia question at the end of the show to get in to win a pair of NFL tickets or CFL tickets to see any team that you would like to see play live. Now, one thing I'd like to note before we jump into this show, folks, is that I would like you to head over to sportstree.ca, sign up, and check out all of our picks, all of our NFL best bets. They're all on sportstree.ca. Sign up today. Also, we have a Discord now where we are handling live bets. We are 4-0 with our live bets. Whether it was MLB, we hit some NHL live betting last night. We're on fire, and make sure that you folks tune into our Discord. If you want access to that, you have to become a Sports Tree subscriber. Now, let's jump into Thursday Night Football. The worst Thursday Night Football game that any of us will have to bear witness. It's the 2-2 Commanders hosting the 0-4 Bears, and this has all the makings to be some schoolyard bullshit. The Bears have allowed over 70% of all passes to wide receivers to be completed this season. Washington is one of 6 teams to be allowing over 200 yards per game to wide receivers. That's terrible on both fronts. Washington has given up the most sacks in the NFL. The Bears have given up the 3rd most sacks in the NFL. This is just not going to be fun to watch. This is going to be absolutely terrible. But if we look at some bright spots here, Justin Fields set a career high in passing yards with 335 and touchdown passes with 4 last week. He also completed the first 16 passes of the game, a new Bears franchise record. He's the first player since 2015 to complete at least 90% of his passes for at least 225 yards with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions in a half. That's some elite company. The first player since 2015 to do so. Congratulations, Justin Fields, but you still threw an interception, you still fumbled the ball, and you still lost the game. Yikes. So let's stop being so negative. Let's look at some positives here. Let's look at some prop bets. As for this game overall, I will not be playing anyone on the money line. I don't trust either of these teams whatsoever. As for the over-under, I could see both these teams going out and putting up an abysmal amount of points. Or I could see them going out and just absolutely shelling each other. So I'm going to stay away from your classic total bets, your classic money line bets, and your classic against the spread bets. But there are a couple prop bets that I want to highlight. The first one being, I like DJ Moore to go for over 50.5 receiving yards in this one. Moore's coming off his second 100-yard game of the season. He leads the team with a 21% target share and has an 80% catch rate. That's pretty darn good. He could eclipse this number realistically with 2 catches, and I think that he will eclipse this number. I like DJ Moore to go out and do it at -110, so lock in DJ Moore for the over of 50.5 receiving yards. Our second prop that we're taking to the window and throwing down is Brian Robinson Jr. to hit pay dirt at even money, +100 to score a touchdown. He has 3 touchdowns in 3 consecutive games. The Bears defense is an embarrassment on the ground, literally an embarrassment to every Chicago Bears team that has come before them. I like Brian Robinson to go off, and I also may sprinkle over 64.5 yards his rushing total because the Bears cannot stop the run for the life of them. So those are your prop bets for this one. DJ Moore over 50.5 receiving yards, Brian Robinson to score a touchdown, and Brian Robinson to eclipse his rushing line. Folks, if we mosey over on to some Sunday football now, we have another game in London, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Buffalo Bills. Now the Buffalo Bills, they just demolished the Miami Dolphins at home. However, now they're going across the pond, and they have to face a Jacksonville team that's already acclimated to that environment. They played there last week, and they got a win. The 2-2 Jags, they're basically at home in London. However, I do think Buffalo should win this game. I'm definitely not laying the points. They're traveling. Tre'Davious White just ruptured his Achilles on the back end, and I don't like the Bills to cover the spread. I do think they should win, but I think ATN goes off, and I think the Jacksonville Jaguars make this much more competitive than it needs to be. Houston at Atlanta. Give me the Houston Texans on the road here. CJ Stroud has looked incredible, and for some reason, Taylor Swift is getting more story time than CJ Stroud in his young NFL career. Desmond Ridder is brutal. This is a quarterback mismatch, and I like the Houston Texans to go out and execute. Carolina versus Detroit. Detroit are 10-point favorites, and rightfully so. They could be used as a survivor pick, but we will not use them in this matchup. Take Detroit in every single parlay. They're going to win this football game. Tennessee at Indianapolis. Look, The King has returned. Not only did King Derrick Henry rush for 122 yards at a 5.5 yards per clip, he threw a touchdown pass last week. That's incredible. One thing that I do want to note, though, Indianapolis is at home. They have Anthony Richardson back playing quarterback. They have access to Jonathan Taylor. Whether he'll play or not is yet to be known. I don't trust this Tennessee Titans team on the road to go into Indianapolis. I think this Indianapolis Colts team is trying to prove a point that they don't need Jonathan Taylor on the field. So underdog money for the home team. We might just take a shot on Indianapolis. And here is our survivor pick of the week, folks. The New York Giants at the Miami Dolphins. Take the Dolphins. They're going to win this game. You can take them in every single parlay. Covering the spread, I'm not going to touch that. I don't want to mess that up. But just to juice up a parlay, yes, Miami is going to win this football game, and they're going to win it quite convincingly. The Saints and the New England Patriots. I like the under in this game. Mac Jones looked horrendous last week, and the only reason the under didn't cash in that game was because he turned the ball over, he threw a pick six, and he had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. So if those mistakes are eliminated, which I think they will be, the New Orleans Saints defense is solid, the New England Patriots defense is solid. Give me the under in that one. Baltimore versus Pittsburgh. I also like the under in this smash mouth football game. These two teams have combined for under 40 points in their last 5 meetings. And if I'm looking for a prop in that one, I like Gus Edwards to go for over 43.5 rushing yards. For the main purpose that to keep Lamar Jackson clean and to keep TJ Watt off his back, you're going to need to mix in Gus Edwards. He has 3 straight games with double-digit snap count, and I think he hits this line quite comfortably here. If he gets into the double digits, he only needs to average 4.35 yards per carry. You do the math. That's pretty attainable for a guy like Gus Edwards. Cincinnati at Arizona. This feels like a trap, doesn't it? You're getting the Cincinnati Bengals at -3 or -150 on the money line, heading into Arizona, and they're a gutsy team. However, Joe Burrow said this is a must-win situation. This Cincinnati team has had their back against the wall before. I'll take them on the money line. I'm not going to go all out on it, but I do think they go in and they get the job done. We've seen this team with their back against the wall many, many times, and I like them to go out and get the job done. Now, a prop that I do like in this game, I like James Conner to go for over 58.5 rushing yards at -110. Conner's averaging 5.1 yards per carry this season, and he's hit this line in 3 out of 4 games in 2023. He is their offense. Outside of Joshua Dobbs, he is their offense. Joshua Dobbs is not very good. He may steal a couple runs away from James Conner by just tucking and going. However, I do like James Conner to go up over this number, and the Bengals have been gashed on the ground this season, so I think that's a great spot for James Conner to go off. Philadelphia at LA. The Eagles are undefeated, but the Rams could be getting Cooper Kupp back. I'm staying away from this spot. This Rams team has shown a lot of fight. They're extremely well coached, and I'm not doubting Puka Nacua, ever. That kid is unbelievable. Do you see what he did in overtime last week? Matthew Stafford is going to have his top targets back if Cooper Kupp is in this game. I think LA could make some noise at home. However, Philadelphia is definitely the safer play here. This is a stay away spot. We'll do some more research. The New York Jets at the Denver Broncos. Is it weird if I say give me the Broncos? This Jets team looked pretty solid against Kansas City, but the Broncos are returning home. They finally have that first win in the Sean Payton era, and Russell Wilson looked competent as a quarterback last week. Granted, he was playing the Chicago Bears, but that's a good win. They come back from being down 28-7. They go out, they get the job done. Now they're going home against a New York Jets team that looked like they were in shambles for the first 3 weeks of the season before they went out and had a decent showing against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm going to be taking Denver in this one, but very hesitantly. Kansas City versus Minnesota. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs, please. With a little extra spice on top. I think Kansas City smacks Minnesota around. Yes, Minnesota got their first win of the season last week, but that was against the Carolina Panthers. And I also think that this Kansas City Chiefs team, they haven't played up to their potential yet. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs to absolutely smack around the Minnesota Vikings. Sunday Night Football, Dallas at San Francisco. Make sure you get on this line now before it moves, because Cowboy fans are probably going to bet this down. Give me the San Francisco Giants at -3.5. I think they cover the field goal. I think they dominate this game. They have the better defense. They have the more consistent offense. I think they have the more consistent quarterback. They have the better running back. They have better skill position players. And it's in San Francisco. I think this is a great spot for the San Francisco 49ers to go out and make a statement, go 5-0, and put everyone on notice in the NFC. All right, folks, there is one best bet that I did miss, and it is one of our best bets of the week, so we have to close with it. Alvin Kamara to go for over 24.5 receiving yards. The Saints running back against this Patriots defense. He had double digits. He caught 13 targets last week out of 14, and he only garnered 33 yards off of that. That's still more than this line. If he's getting double-digit receptions, odds are he's going to break one of them. Over 24.5 yards at -110. That is undeniable value for Alvin Kamara, one of the most versatile backs in the NFL, probably the second most versatile back behind Christian McCaffrey. All right, folks, as for your trivia question for this week, we've talked about how terrible the Bears are, how hard it is to be a Bears fan, how brutal it is, how depressing it is. When was the last time the Bears won a football game? Head over to sportstree.ca, answer that question. I'll give you a clue. It was my birthday last year. The last time they won a game was my birthday last year, and I turned 28 in 19 days. So that gives you a clue. Today's October 5th. If I turned 28 in 19 days and their last win was my birthday last year, do some math, some quick math. You guys can do it. Head over to sportstree.ca, answer that question, and you're in to win a pair of NFL or CFL tickets to see any team that you'd like to see play live next season. Folks, I'm Connor Roundtree. Enjoy the football.